Southern California, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Today we have ourselves a jam-packed show as we have lots to dive into, such as the LA Galaxy continuing its winning ways against Sporting KC. Can LAFC continue its winning ways, or will the buck stop here? And the LA Galaxy finally won a game as they beat Atlanta United, which is just as bad. Can they get themselves back on track as they face Dallas this weekend? Also, the Chargers and Rams just kicked off training camp. For the Chargers, can their players mesh well with one another? Can they prove that they are one of the top teams in the NFL? And what about the Angels? The Angels continue to struggle as they're actually rumors saying that the Angels could dump Shohei Ohtani. But hey, at least we have the Padres and Dodgers doing well. Especially the Dodgers. They just swept the Giants in 4 games. All that and more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on iSports, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Friday afternoon, Friday evening, Friday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you have made yourself to episode 98 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Without any further delay, let's get on into that Southern California sports action. But first and foremost, we have a word from our sponsor. iSports Radio is proud to call the Southern California Warriors the official sponsor of iSports Radio. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organization. The world of some players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get filmed for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles that give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you've been waiting for as an athlete. You can follow them on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, on Instagram at Southern California _Warriors, and on Facebook by typing in the word Southern, then California, then Warriors. And then iSports Radio, where we are at on Twitter and on Instagram, that is at iSports Radio. And we're also on TikTok at iSports Radio. And we are also on Facebook by going up to the search bar and typing in the word IE, then sports, then radio. Also, iSports Radio has a website, www.iesportsradio.com. And when you go there, you will see a Patreon link at the top, and it'll start out at $5 a month. This will get you a shout-out from all 28 of our shows, and higher tiers include iSports Radio merchandise, access to IESRU, the podcasting university of iSports Radio, and even access to, or even a chance to be featured on iSports Radio's flagship show, The Defining Moment, in a segment with the Larry B. Because for the past 8 years and counting, iSports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've been continuing to be by the fans and for the fans, and with your help, we're ready to take the next biggest step. Thank you, everyone, for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. Shout out to our 4 Patreon supporters, Bay Area Raised Apparel, Marcus Losgrit, Key to the Gate, and a donor that remains and wishes to be anonymous. Also, a shout out to IE Sports Radio's Fan of the Month, Justin Ekstrom, who is a Minnesota Vikings fan hailing from the Great Lakes of Minnesota. And with all that said and done, let's get on into that Southern California sports goodness. Let's start with the NFL. We'll start with the Chargers. So, the Chargers and the Rams just kicked off training camp, and I don't know what really happened with the Rams, but for purposes of me being a Chargers fan, I really want to get into the meat and potatoes of how they did. So, overall for the Chargers, they were solid. Justin Herbert still has his connection with Keenan Allen. Jalen Guyton has a burst of speed. Mike Williams is still the big body wide receiver that the Chargers paid oh so well on. And honestly, there was actually a trick play of what happened when it came to the Chargers practice. As I want to say it was Keenan Allen who threw a pass. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, Keenan Allen had a left screen pass to Keenan Allen, and he threw it to Gerald Everett, and I guess Everett threw it to Joshua Palmer. And yeah, so here was the play overall, courtesy of Tyler Schoon, one of the hosts for Guilty as Charged podcast. So it was a left screen pass to Keenan Allen with him and Gerald Everett and another wide receiver in front, which was probably Joshua Palmer. Allen then tosses it down the field to Austin Eckler. So basically, the Chargers were getting tricky in practice. Now, do I think they're going to do this in an actual game? Absolutely not. Because when it comes to trick plays, the Chargers really suck when it comes to trick plays. No trick play does not go by any other team when it comes to the Chargers. Except for that one time when the Chargers ran the Philly special with Austin Eckler and Justin Herbert. But that was just a 2-point conversion. So, yeah. Honestly, that was that one trick play. But as for some of the other big-time headlines for the Chargers, so I did hear that JT Woods was coming in as a cleanup guy instead of like a full role. JT Woods was the 4th-round pick for the Chargers this year, coming out of Baylor. He is a safety. He does have very good speed, as in Madden, which I know it's irrelevant. He has probably the fastest speed of all safeties. Now, do I think it translates onto the field? That remains to be seen. But JT Woods was having cleanup duty, and he did some good things for the Chargers defensively. So overall, I think it was good to see him in. I think he'll be good alongside Derwin James. I feel he has that potential. And honestly, I think he could swoop that starting position in from what's his face, Alohi Gilman, just because it's Derwin James as I want to say he's strong safety, and then it's JT Woods, and I want to say the next person up is not Kaiser White. Kaiser White went to the Nasir Adderley. So Nasir Adderley is the second safety. So overall, I think it's definitely doable for JT Woods to be a starter. I really think that Adderley is probably going to be that safety too, but I think that the Chargers are definitely in good shape when it comes to their safeties. Like I don't necessarily hate Alohi Gilman, but when it came to his draft, he just did not rubbed me the wrong way, honestly. I really didn't think that Adderley was the greatest pick of all time. But he had his moments. Like last year, he had a interception in the game against Kansas City at Kansas City. That interception actually wound up proving big because eventually the Chargers got the score. Adam Kark in the chat room, he says, good evening, Teran. He says, how's Mac looking in powder blue? So, Khalil Mack, that's actually something I meant to touch up on. So, Khalil Mack, I don't think he practiced the first few days, but yesterday I did see that he stopped Austin Eckler for like a loss of 2 yards. It was a big blow-up play. And something that people have been alluding to when it comes to the Khalil Mack trade is that Khalil Mack not only can get to the quarterback, but he could stop the run game really well. So I really think the Chargers struck a home run with this trade. So to answer your question, Adam, Khalil Mack is looking good. So now that Adam mentioned the part of the defense for the Chargers, I should make note that Derwin James did not practice for the Chargers as, number one, he's still nursing that shoulder injury. Well, not a shoulder injury, but he had shoulder surgery, but he should be back in time for the season. And number two, he isn't on the field because of until he gets extended, which I totally understand. I really think the Chargers should extend Derwin James. They have to renegotiate his contract and give him an extension. I think Derwin James, despite that 1 year where he tore his ACL and he was, or was it his Achilles? I think it was his Achilles or something. Either way, that season-ending injury that he had in 2020, despite that, Derwin James is still a beast. I feel he could play strong safety, and I want to say he is the strong safety, while JT Woods, Gilman, and Nasir Adderley will probably be the free safety. But for Derwin James, the Chargers definitely do need to extend him. I don't want Derwin James to go down the Jason Verrett route where he wasn't extended and eventually he left for the Patriots, which he won a ring with, which is ew. So the Chargers do need to lock up Derwin James ASAP just because that is their ball hawk, and I think Derwin James, when healthy, is legit. I really think Derwin James brings a lot of firepower to the Chargers defense, and I really think that it's so important to get him locked up just in case he wants to go elsewhere come next season. Because I want to say he's a free agent next season, so the Chargers can't really put him on the tag otherwise. Well, he is actually a free agent. He was supposed to be a free agent this year, and then now they're saying he could be put on the tag, and he wants an extension. I really think Derwin is worth the money. I know the Chargers flushed a lot of money down with the Khalil Mack contract, and then getting J.C. Jackson and Gerald Everett and all those other players, but I think that locking up Derwin James would be key, just because he is so crucial for that Chargers defense. So anyway, other than that, the remainder of the Chargers defense, Bryce Callahan, who was a free agent that signed from the Broncos, he actually had his good moments at cornerback. So looking at the Chargers cornerbacks, it consists of J.C. Jackson, Asante Samuel Jr., Michael Davis, who I think is vastly underrated, and Bryce Callahan, who came from the Broncos. I think the Chargers' corners are vastly underrated, and they obviously drafted a couple corners in the draft. I think one came from Wake Forest. I digress, though. But the Chargers' cornerbacks look so much better than last year. As long as they stay healthy, they are going to be in good shape when it comes to that category. Last year, they lost Asante Samuel Jr. and Michael Davis to injuries. It would have been great to see Asante Samuel Jr. just continue his strong start to his rookie campaign. I think he could have made a push for Defensive Rookie of the Year, but unfortunately that was not the case. But I definitely think that Asante Samuel Jr. was worth a second-round pick, and I definitely think that he's going to do big things. Just because now he has someone else under his wing to look up to, such as J.C. Jackson, who I liked his story. I could not believe his story. I honestly was just amazed to see his story and how he was able to turn his life around. And J.C. Jackson, for those that are wondering, J.C. Jackson actually started out as a wide receiver back when he played flag football, and he was supposed to go to University of Florida, but unfortunately he took a turn for the worse. But if you want to find out more about J.C. Jackson's story, probably just look up Google and look up J.C. Jackson's story. So, yeah. Adam Karnick says Bryce Callahan. It's another ex-Bears. Ooh, interesting. So, yeah, the Chargers are basically just scraping up all of the whatchamacallit, the Bears' leftovers. Yeah, and he did play with the Chicago Bears. He signed as an undrafted free agent in 2015, and he was also a member of the Broncos. And at age 30, he's now a Charger. So, overall, I think Bryce Callahan is going to continue. I think he's going to continue to do great things, and I would not be surprised if he got into the fold. So, it's just a wait-and-see game. One negative that the Chargers did have today when it came to their training camp day, was that there were dropped passes, which obviously is no bueno, but that could be remedied. And then something else, back to the positive, someone else that stepped up was Isaiah Spiller. Now, for those that are wondering, the Chargers do not have a running back 2 set, as the running back 2 contest is going to be Larry Roundtree, who is their rookie running back last year, Joshua Kelly, who I despise with a fiery passion just because of his ability to fumble the ball, and then there's Isaiah Spiller, who had more than 2,000 carries his entire college career at Texas A&M, and he only fumbled 3 times. And I really want Isaiah Spiller to win the running back battle just because it was worth the 3rd-round pick. I definitely think the Chargers have to get their bang for their buck. Just because they didn't have a 2nd-round pick, right? And they spent their 3rd-round pick on Isaiah Spiller. He has to, I repeat, has to come up big when it comes to the Chargers. And I really want him as the running back 2. I feel so much more comfortable with him as running back 2 than Joshua Kelly or Larry Roundtree. Not that I'm saying Larry Roundtree is a bad option. I just think that Isaiah Spiller is going to be a better option, and he really shined today. So I hope he does get that opportunity to, basically be that running back too. Because if that is the case, then I would be so happy. And then I want to say that's pretty much it, other than the wide receiver core. It's basically going to be the Keenan Allen as wide receiver 1, Mike Williams as wide receiver 2, though those two can switch at any time. Jalen Guyton at wide receiver 3, and then Joshua Palmer at wide receiver 4. Though I am hearing that Joshua Palmer is the clear wide receiver 3, which I kind of think that's a mistake. Now, don't get me wrong, Joshua Palmer is a great wide receiver, and I think the Chargers utilized him really well. But Jalen Guyton has that burst of speed that he has that not the other running backs have. I'm sorry, wide receivers have. He doesn't have that burst of. He has that burst of speed that the other wide receivers don't have. So I really think that Jalen Guyton should be wide receiver 3, and he's a great target for Justin Herbert. I really think that he can do great things as wide receiver 3. And I think he could be a great decoy to take the pressure away from Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. I just really think that he has that potential and possibility. So we'll see what happens when it comes to the wide receiver 3 battle. So overall, I think that's pretty much it for the Chargers and their training camps so far. I just really think that the Chargers are in for a great season, and I hope they can, I hope they can really, get it together. I really hope that they can, put it all together, just because they have too talented of a roster to, miss the playoffs. I really think that this is their year to make the playoffs and possibly win the AFC West. I'm not going to count my chickens just yet, but I really like the Chargers' chances of winning the AFC West. It's just all about keeping everybody healthy. It's all about keeping everybody on the same page. It's all about Brandon Staley not messing up the whole offensive scheme things, like going for it on 4th and 1 in your own territory. That was just insane. Adam Kark says, he has begun his fantasy football prep. Any Chargers or Rams Nuggets for me? I would honestly go with Mike Williams over Keenan Allen. I feel Mike Williams is that deep receiver threat that the Chargers have. Obviously, Keenan Allen is wide receiver 1, but Mike Williams you cannot go wrong with. And then Austin Eckler could be a good fantasy option as well. I honestly would have him over Christian McCaffrey, just because, no offense to Christian McCaffrey, I like him. I think he's a great running back, but I think Austin Eckler being that great dual threat as a receiver and a running back should be more considered more than more than CMC. Like, I felt so disrespected to see that Austin Eckler was not a top 10 running back. I was like, how? Eckler is probably one of the most underrated running backs out there. So, overall, Adam, I'm not the best when it comes to fantasy football, but that's kind of my fantasy advice for you. Get Mike Williams and maybe Jalen Guyton if he's still available in the later rounds. And then also getting Austin Eckler maybe over CMC. Like, it's tough because Christian McCaffrey plays in a tough division, and then obviously he's on a Panthers team which is loaded with a meh quarterback situation. Nothing against the Panthers, of course, but that's just my little opinion. I would also, for fantasy advice, veer away from Chargers kickers. It won't help you. The Chargers find ways to miss kicks more often than not, even though Dustin Hopkins is not bad. I think Dustin Hopkins might be the Chargers' best option since they signed Nick Novak back in the day. Yeah, just overall, that's kind of my fantasy football advice. I'm sorry if I don't have the best advice. And then I guess for the Rams, I guess Van Jefferson would be a good option as well. Getting Van Jefferson too. And then getting a quarterback in the 3rd round would be key. However, Stafford wouldn't be a bad option. I mean, he is better than he was back in Detroit. Let's get that out of the way real quick. But I also think that Stafford, if like the Justin Herberts, the Josh Allens, the Patrick Mahomes aren't available, I would go with Stafford. And then I think I would lean toward Cam Akers this year. I know Cam Akers had that torn Achilles, but the fact that he came back so quickly from that is very astounding. And then also that I think he's going to have much better upside just because he missed over half the season, and he wasn't too bad when he came back. Obviously, he had that atrocious game against the Bucs in the playoffs, but that's because the Bucs defense is very stingy. You can't take that away from them. And I want to say getting Matt Gay as a kicker would also benefit you when it comes to drafting in fantasy. And then the Rams defense, I kind of would pick up, especially since they have that twice in one season Seattle Seahawks game. But then again, the Rams do have to play like the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Raiders. The Broncos are going to be better. The Bucs are going to be up there. The Packers, the Rams always struggle with. So that's kind of your Rams advice, if you ask me. And then getting Tyler Higbee would not be a bad option either at tight end. So I'm sorry if I don't have the best nuggets for you, Adam. I hope that helps. But I'm not the biggest fantasy football guru. Like, you'd have to ask Adam Rank. And even he's not the best fantasy football guru. Because remember, that guy predicted the Niners finishing 3-13 that one year. But I digress. And also Adam Rank thought that the Rams did not beat the Chiefs in the Coliseum back in 2018. So, Yeah. Okay, so that does help for Adam, and thank you, Adam Karnick. So I'm glad I'm able to help you out in that sequence. All right, but back to the Southern California sports action. So let's jump into some MLB. So the All-Star break is over and done with, and everyone is back to doing their things. As the Dodgers, as I mentioned last week, they had a 4-game series against the San Francisco Giants, and believe it or not, the Dodgers were able to take all 4 games against the Giants. Last Friday they won 5-1. Last Saturday they won 4-2, and then on Sunday they won 7-4, which was quite nice. So that is quite impressive by the Dodgers, getting a giant sweep over San Francisco. But then the Dodgers followed that up by losing their next 2 games against the Washington Nationals of all teams. Yeah, this seems to be a running theme that the Dodgers lose to some of the worst teams in the National League. Like they got swept by the Pittsburgh Pirates way back in when the season began, and then they lost 2 of 3 to the Nationals, which I'm very, very baffled by that. But they won the final game by a score of 7-1. And then yesterday, first of all, the Dodgers just got started with their game against the Colorado Rockies. Yesterday, the Dodgers beat the Rockies 13-0 yesterday, which was very nice. I only wish the Dodgers had this hitting output in one of the other previous games against the Nats, but I digress on that. Adam Karnick makes note that Adam Rank is also a massive Bears fan. Oh yeah, I know that. I do remember that. So back to the Dodgers. So the Dodgers close out the month of July with 3 more games against the Rockies. And then starting out the month of August, they are on the road for a 4-game series against the hated San Francisco Giants. Yes, the Dodgers have another gauntlet against the Giants. Like, man, Dodgers, just when they thought they were out of the frying pan with the Giants, they're back into another frying pan with them. And then next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the Dodgers are back home at the Chavez Ravine against the San Diego Padres. So next week is going to be a huge week for the Dodgers as they take on 2 NL West rivals, and both of which are the potent rivals. The Giants, which are surprisingly under 500, and then the Padres, which are on their coattails when it comes to the division, but they're a massive on their coattails away from them, as the Dodgers are 12 games ahead of the Padres in the NL West, which is, man. So for the Dodgers, they just have to just continue its winning ways, and looking at their schedule, they have the Twins following the Padres, but then they have the Royals, which is kind of a breather game, but knowing the Dodgers, they may struggle with that. And they're on the road at Milwaukee. They're back home against Miami, remaining at home against the Brewers, on the road for a 4-game series against the Marlins, and then closing out the month of August, they have a 3-game series against the Mets. And then they restart the cycle again then they start September with a series against the Padres, then the Giants, then the Padres again. Like they close out the month of September. They have quite a bit of memorable games and noteworthy games, such as the Padres, Cardinals, Giants, and Padres again. So overall, the Dodgers are really going to have their work cut out for them. And then the Dodgers close out. Well, they only have 5 games in October, and they're all against the Rockies, which is baffling if you ask me. But the Dodgers control their own destiny, and they have to just take care of their games that they know that they can win. They have to beat the teams that they're supposed to beat, and not play with their food. Adam Karnick says he believes that Wilson Contreras is about to be calling SoCal home. Padres keep popping up with his name next to it. Interesting. I will keep that in mind. Speaking of the Padres lost 2 of 3 to the Detroit Tigers, as on Monday the Tigers beat the Padres 12-4, and then on Tuesday the Padres won in extra innings 2 against the Tigers 6-4, and then the Tigers edged the Padres 4-3. This past weekend, the Padres took 2 out of 3 against the Mets as they won last Friday 4-1. They also won last Saturday against the Mets 2-1, and then they lost to the Mets 8-5 on Sunday. So this past Sunday, the Padres had the honor of playing on Sunday Night Football, or not. Why did I say Sunday Night Football? Sunday Night Baseball. God, football is just around the corner. Believe it or not, there are only 6 days before the Hall of Fame game. I just gotta make note of that. But anyway, the Padres were on Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, and they lost to the Mets, which the Mets are good, so I can't really fault them for that much. But I will say this, is that the Dodgers and the Padres, not this upcoming Sunday, but the following Sunday, they are going to be playing on Sunday Night Baseball, which I think it's going to be really cool. So we'll see what happens with the Dodgers and the Padres, but I am looking way too far ahead. So this weekend, the Dodgers head back to Petco Park for a 3-game series against the Minnesota Twins. Now, the Twins have kind of been I wouldn't say the surprise team, but they're the good surprise team. I think the Twins have improved, and with the Twins having a chance to win the American League Central, I think that they're going to want to swing while the iron is hot. So for the Padres, they have to be careful, as this 3-game series closing out July is going to be very crucial. Then for the Padres, they will remain at home as they have a 5-game series against the Rockies. They have a game on Monday, then a doubleheader on Tuesday, and then they have a game on Wednesday, and then they have a game on Thursday against the Rockies. And then, as I mentioned, next week there's going to be a 3-game series. It's going to be at Los Angeles between the Dodgers and the Padres. And then following that series, the Padres have a 3-game series at home against the Giants. So, looking at the wild card standings for the Padres are still in that second wild card spot, as they are basically 2.5 games up on the final wild card spot. For me, I think the Padres are still in good shape, and once they get Fernando Tatis Jr. back, dude, I can't wait to see what the Padres have in store. Like, the fact that they're still doing good despite Fernando Tatis Jr. being out is quite astounding, and I really think that the Padres still have a little bit more meat on the bone. So for them to be successful, they have to have all their players, and if they do get Wilson Contreras, then that would be awesome sauce. If they don't get him, then, well, they'll just have to, figure it out on how they can, work with what they've got. So we'll see what happens when it comes to him, as I think Wilson Contreras could make a good addition into the rotation for the Padres. So I think that getting him would be beneficial, but time will tell. So that is that for the Padres. Now we have to go on to the Angels. Yes, I have to mention them just because they are SoCal. So there are rumors saying that the Angels could possibly trade Shohei Ohtani. I hope that those rumors are not true. If the Angels do trade Shohei Ohtani, they better get a superstar in return, and they also better get a major haul, because that's like a gigantic gem you're giving up in a trade. So yeah. But for the Angels, they actually won a series. Except they just took 2 out of 3 against the Royals. On Monday, they lost to the Royals 7-0. Tuesday, they beat the Royals 6-0. And then on Wednesday, the Angels took down the Royals 4-0. This weekend, the Angels have a 4-game series against the Texas Rangers at the Big A. The Rangers won the first game yesterday 2-0. And then last weekend, the Angels lost 2 of 3 to the Braves, as on Friday they lost 8-1. And then Saturday they lost 7-2. And then the Angels closed it out with a 9-1 win. So for the Angels, it's basically going to be, they're going to be selling. But please, for the love of all that is stuffed crust pizzas, please don't trade Shohei Ohtani. If they do, then I'm done with the Angels. One of my friends on Twitter says, if the Angels trade Shohei Ohtani, then I'm done with this organization. And I recommended that he'd be a Dodgers fan, but another one of my friends recommended Padres or Brewers, which I don't mind him being a Padres fan, but overall, it's just another frustrating year for the Angels. That losing streak really set them back, as the Angels are nowhere near the wild card spot, as they are 11 games back of the final wild card spot, and it's downright infuriating. I don't even think they would do good in the AL East, which that division right there is quite stacked, as all teams are 500 or better. All teams are bowl game eligible. But back to the Angels. Yeah, this is just going to be another year where the Angels have to basically throw it away and just hope that everyone gets better. As for Mike Trout, he has been diagnosed with a rare back injury, and it's like, oh my goodness. And his timetable for return is unknown, and it really makes me wonder how Mike Trout is getting injured, and I hope he is able to, get healthy when it truly matters. That's just basically another slap to the face. It's bad enough that Anthony Rendon is out, but now we get Mike Trout out with a rare back injury, and it's a rare back injury, so overall, I'm just very concerned for the Angels going forward. It's just another one of those bad years, man. It's just infuriating, and it's just oh my goodness. One player that the Angels did get back is that they found out that Fletcher, I'm blanking on his name. It's something, David Fletcher. David Fletcher did return to the lineup for the Angels yesterday, and I am very happy. It's about time that he made his return. But it's going to be the case of too little too late. Unless, of course, the Angels can go on a massive win streak. So we'll see what the Angels can do. It's just very painful talking about them. I really hate that this has to happen every single year. I really wish the Angels would be more competent when it comes to their organization. Maybe Art Moreno does need to sell the team, but I don't know. Because for the Angels, I really want them to be successful. I think everyone would love to see a well-run Angels organization. Just look at the Cleveland Browns. They were eventually a dumpster fire, but their situation was a whole lot more different. And also, at least the Angels have won a championship. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for the Browns. No offense, Browns fans. So, for the Angels, it's just another week of probably just getting through it. Do I expect them to beat the Rangers? Hopefully. But I don't want to hold my breath on it, just because the Rangers have improved. So, we'll see. So that is going to do it for the MLB. Let's discuss a little WNBA, and then we'll take ourselves a commercial breaky break to rest my voicey voice a little. But before we do so, we have a little update on the Dodgers. They're up 2-0 against the Rockies after the top of the first inning. Very nice. And then the Padres don't start till 6:40, which is not too far. It's like 45 minutes away. And then the Angels are pretty much starting at the same time as the Padres are. Back to the WNBA. So, unfortunately for the Sparks, they found out that they have lost, that Liz Cambridge is basically going to be in a contract buyout, and the Sparks are basically buying out her contract, and she has gone bye-bye from the Sparks, which makes me sad face. Oh, my goodness. Like, it really sucks just because I liked Liz Cambridge. She was not that bad of a player. She was actually a very good player. The problem is that she and the coaching staff just were not on the same page, and it really sucks. I get it. The Sparks lost Derek Fisher, like, toward the beginning of the season, and now they have interim coach Fred Williams. But unfortunately, Liz Cambridge is basically out the door, and it's going to be a contract divorce. So, wherever Liz Cambridge goes, that team is going to be very lucky. As for the Sparks themselves, it really sucks because they are still in the playoff hunt. And if they don't, if they don't have this big burst of wins, then honestly, I don't think then they won't be seeing the playoffs. Like, between spots 6 through all the way down to 11, which is Minnesota, I really think that the Sparks and all those teams have a good shot. Phoenix, Los Angeles, Dallas, Atlanta, New York, and Minnesota are all vying for playoff spots, and it's so close between those teams. It really is not funny how close it is. Like, I would be interested to see what would happen to any of those teams, just because the 3 teams that have locked up a playoff spot are the Chicago Sky, the Las Vegas Aces, and the Connecticut Sun. For the Sparks, they rest in 7th place, and only the top 8 teams advance to the the WNBA playoffs. There is one team that has been eliminated, as that is the Indiana Fever, which is an abysmal 5-25. Oof. And one of those 5 wins came against the Sparks. Oof. Back to the Sparks. They lost yesterday to the Phoenix Mercury 90-80, which the final score is not as close as many would hope it to be. The Sparks had 32 points in the first half. The Mercury scored 28 in the second quarter alone. It was basically not that close. Basically, the Sparks they were never in control of the game. They allowed Diana Taurasi to go off. She scored 30 points yesterday. 30 points, which that's already no-no number 1. And then number 2 was Skylar Diggins-Smith scoring 27 points, which is yikes. For the Sparks themselves, they were led by, off the bench, Kennedy Carter, who had 23 points, which I thought was quite nice. And then Nneka Ogwumike added 15 points and 11 boards. And she also added 5 assists, too. The Sparks only made 3 3-pointers out of 21 attempts. Yikes-a-roni. That is not going to get the job done. It really is not. So, yeah, losing to the Suns. The Mercury really hurt the Sparks. And then losing to the Aces was kind of a lost cause. Well, I wouldn't say it like that, but the Sparks only had 8 active players on that team. 8 active players. It was actually close in the first half, as the Sparks actually led by 1 after the first quarter. And it was tied at halftime. It was 39-39 at halftime, and the Sparks were only down 4 in the third quarter. Unfortunately, the fourth quarter came, and the Aces decided, let's actually play the game and kick the Sparks to the curb. That's why the Sparks lost by 18. So the game, in theory, was rather close. I don't think the final score does it any justice. It's just that the Sparks were just so short-handed, and eventually the Liz Cambridge thing really set them back even further. So that's basically how the Sparks kind of let last week's win over the Dream and Fever kind of slipped through their fingers. So the Sparks are back at Sunday when they return home to the Crypto.com Arena to take on the Minnesota Lynx. Another crucial game for the Sparks, as they only have 8 games remaining in their season. And then they have back-to-back contests against the Liberty on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then next Friday, they are on the road against the Atlanta Dream. So after their home game on Sunday, the Sparks are basically on the road for 5 games on the road. 5 games on the road. The Liberty twice, which is definitely winnable. The Dream, which is winnable, but the Dream have playoff aspirations too. The Mystics is kind of the odd team out, which they're definitely going to be the team that is going to be tough to beat of those 5 teams. And then the Sparks return home for the remainder of the season against the Connecticut Sun for twice. They play them twice in a row, Tuesday and then Thursday. And then the Sparks close out the season against the Dallas Wings on Sunday, which, depending on what happens with the Sparks in that 5-game road trip, could also depend on if that Dallas Wings Los Angeles Sparks game has any significance, if not big-time significance. So for the Sparks, they really have to buckle down when it comes to this road trip. Well, and then they obviously have that one game against the Lynx. If they win that game against the Lynx, the road trip will be a little bit more easier when they have to hit the road. Because if they don't do well on this road trip and they don't beat the Lynx, they're going to have a tough time beating Connecticut. And then also those first 4 games on the road trip, that could be a barometer of where the Sparks want to be, as basically the Sparks' room for error is very slim. And I say it was a 5-game road trip, it was a 4-game road trip, as it's just the Liberty twice, the Dream once, and then it's the Mystics. So the 4-game road trip is going to be tough, and then basically the Mystics closes out that road trip, which starts a gauntlet for the Sparks. But it's definitely doable for the Sparks to make the playoffs. It's just that they have to take care of business when it truly matters. Like, they have to beat the Lynx in order to look ahead to the Liberty, because the Liberty is going to be fighting its way for playoff contention. And then the Dream is also fighting itself for a playoff spot. Like, they're right on the coattails of the Sparks. And then the Mystics are so close to clinching a playoff spot, they could sniff it. So overall for the Sparks, it's going to be tough sledding to close out the season other than the Dallas Wings game. But if they win the games that they truly can win, then they can look at how they stack up against the Mystics and the Sun. So that's going to do it for the WNBA portion of the show. We're actually going to take ourselves a quick break. When we come back, we have some MLS action and we have some NWSL action, even though I think the NWSL is on, I wouldn't say break, but it's on like World Cup break, just because, well, the Women's World Cup is happening. But this weekend, the NWSL is back in action. San Diego Wave FC as well as Angel City FC are back playing in their respective games. And then we also have the Dum Dum of the Week. So keep it locked here. You are listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon, all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
College football, and do you want to hear a college football show dedicated to all that is college football, including junior college and the CCCAA and the NJCAA, the NAIA, and the NCAA, including Division III, Division II, Division I AA in the FCS, and Division I A in the FBS? Well then look no further. Join myself, Larry B., and my colleagues, Mr. H-Town Blake Henley, and Mr. Christian Espinoza, each week during the college football season for the latest in college football on 3 and Out College Edition, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy Dentarius Lava.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
back with segment number 2 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all the sports. Let's jump on into some soccer action as the NWSL resumes play, as this Saturday, San Diego Wave FC has a huge matchup against the Chicago Red Stars. Well, that's going to be big just because Chicago is right on the coattails of Wave, as Wave is actually 22 points ahead of Chicago, who's only 2 points back of San Diego. One thing that benefits Wave is that they played one more game than Chicago. But for San Diego, there's this little concern for San Diego, as they haven't really been the true dominant self. I mean, yes, they had that non-losing streak that they had earlier in the season, but ever since they lost to Angel City, I don't think they've been the same team. Obviously, not having Alex Morgan didn't really help. However, I think that once they get Alex Morgan back, then this Wave FC team is going to be so much different. There's only 5 matches left into the season. And looking at the playoff picture, San Diego is in first place, but you also have to remember that Portland is right behind them, and they're probably the hottest team in the NWSL. Currently, they're tied with Louisville, surprisingly enough. It's 1-1, but remember, Portland has not lost a match since all the way back in May when they lost to Houston 2-0, right? And they should have lost to San Diego. I don't mean to say this 1,000 times, but I hate how the NWSL does not have VAR or instant replay or anything of that sort. And it really sucks because instant replay / VAR would have been great for Wave, just because that would have obviously benefited them early in the game. But unfortunately, San Diego has to accept the win, or not accept the win. They have to accept the tie instead of the win. As we welcome Mike Pat in the chat room, he says, "Good evening, sir. Good evening to you too." So for San Diego, this would be a huge win if they beat Chicago. If they beat Chicago, they're golden. If they tie with Chicago, then their next win isn't going to be for another month, which isn't bad. And I can't seem to count. San Diego has 9 games left. They have 9 games left, as they have 4 games in August, 4 games in September, and then they have the slowly game to close out the month of July. So San Diego obviously is in, I wouldn't say cruise control, but they're in a good position to make the playoffs. However, they just can't put themselves in cruise control, and they can't take their foot off the gas pedal. They have to continue its winning ways, and it starts on Saturday when they play Chicago. That'd be it would for real be a huge win for them, to say the least. I really think that a win like that would boost San Diego's momentum, just because then they could head back to Torero Stadium. I forgot to mention that the game is at Chicago, but San Diego, following that game, heads back home to Torero Stadium to take on Kansas City, and they have Orlando, then Houston, and then they close out the month of August with a match against Portland, which I think is crucial right there. That is going to be very, very, very crucial. And then looking at Orlando, they're 8th, but they're still very much alive in the playoff hunt. They're somewhat a distant 8th from Angel City, but for me, I think they're very much alive in that playoff hunt. Houston is in that top 6 as they're number 4, and they're not too far off from the point lead as well. And then Kansas City is also in the top 6 of that echelon. So San Diego's schedule gets quite tough when it comes to the month of August. Like, you have 3 teams that are in the playoff hunt that you face, and then Orlando, which is trying to basically make its way into that top 6. As only the top 6 teams make the playoffs, the 4 teams that do make it 3 through 6 play in the quarterfinals, and then 1 through 2 get a bye into the semifinals. So that is pretty much that for San Diego Wave FC. Jumping over to Angel City, they get back on track when it comes to their games tomorrow at the Bank of California Stadium. Yes, I said it right, against OL Reign. So looking at Angel City, they're right behind OL Reign when it comes to the number 6 spot in the NWSL. Here's my thing. The two face one another, and whoever wins is basically going to have a leg up or 3 on the other team. Honestly, that game could not be any more huge for Angel City. And knowing that they will not have Kristen Press throughout the rest of the season, it would be huge if Angel City beat OL Reign tomorrow, especially at home. And then Angel City has 10 games remaining on their schedule. They have Orlando next week at Orlando, and then they have Chicago the following week, and then at Kansas City the following week, and then they have at Gotham to close out the month of August. So for Angel City, their margin of error is much more thinner than San Diego's, but I still think they're very resilient. I really think that Angel City does have the scrappiness, despite not having one of the top players in the NWSL. So I really think that Angel City can do damage, as well as Wave FC. It's just that Wave FC would basically, it doesn't matter when they'll get into the playoffs. It's not a matter of when, it's who. It doesn't matter if they'll get into the playoffs, because if this doesn't really make sense to keep following along. Once San Diego makes the playoffs, it doesn't matter where they're at. Like, they could be number 1 seed, number 2 seed, number 6 seed. As long as they're in the postseason, they are in good shape, and they'll basically have that chance to win games left and right. And who knows, once again, maybe San Diego can be that first professional team to bring home a championship for the city of San Diego. Just because that team has been long yearning for a championship, just after considering the Chargers did them dirty. But I digress. Back to Angel City. Angel City, they still have a shot at the playoffs, and this game against OL Reign is really going to prove to be crucial. They have to win that game. They have to. Just because OL Reign is basically the brick wall that stands in their way of making the playoffs, if the playoffs ended today. And then Houston plays Gotham, which honestly is winnable for Houston. And then Kansas City, the Kansas City Current, play Orlando on Sunday, which they should be able to handle that one. But don't sleep on Orlando. I wouldn't count them out, but I would also say that they still have a trick. They may have a trick or two up their sleeve, so we'll see. So that is that for the NWSL. Jumping over to the MLS, tonight LAFC plays the Seattle Sounders, which is a huge game. It's going to be at the Bank of California Stadium. Last week, LAFC hit the road to the land of Patrick Mahomes and defeated the Sporting KC 2-0. Yes, I decided to call it the land of Patrick Mahomes. I decided to call Kansas City the land of Patrick Mahomes just because Patrick Mahomes does partially own Sporting KC, but I digress. So, LAFC has won 3 in a row following that loss to Vancouver at the beginning of July. So, tonight is a huge game, not just because it's against a conference foe, but it's against a rival as well. Now, the Sounders are not on the echelon level of rivalry when it comes to the Galaxy, but they're right behind them. I really think that LAFC and the Sounders are a rivalry, an underrated rivalry at that, just because Seattle always has had battles with LAFC, and with Seattle trying to knock on the door of making the playoffs, they know they have to, I wouldn't say run the table, but they have to topple one of the top teams in the league and or the conference. And LAFC at the moment is the best team in the league. They have 14 wins, 3 draws, and 4 losses. So overall, for LAFC, they can't underestimate Seattle. Seattle hasn't been great this season. However, Seattle is playing much better than it was beginning. So I really think LAFC could have its work cut out for them, but playing at Bank of California Stadium is huge. Just because if the same crowd that showed up for El Tráfico shows up, then that could give LAFC somewhat of an edge. But for LAFC, they just have to tap into everyone's true potential. And also, I do need to make note of this, is that Gareth Bale, the newcomer for LAFC, he scored his first goal as a member of the squad. So, good for Gareth Bale. I'm happy that he got his first goal as a member of LAFC. And Christian Arango scored as well for LAFC. The scoring didn't happen until the second half, which just goes to show that the MLS is just so wide open. Even the worst team could possibly challenge the best team. And it's great. I love it. It's not like the NFL where the New York Jets have 0 shot against the Kansas City Chiefs. Just using examples, not actually meaning that, but I digress. So for LAFC, following their game tonight, they have 13 games remaining in their season, which is still quite a bit. LAFC is eventually going to inch closer and closer to winning that playoff spot, and they have to be the most complete team in the MLS. I don't care what anyone says. I really think that LAFC might be the most complete team in the league. Now, as for the Galaxy, they finally snapped their 3-game losing streak as they took down Atlanta United on Sunday 2-0. It's about time, because that win does keep the Galaxy in the top 7, and I really think that the Galaxy do have a shot to make the playoffs, but in order to do so, the Galaxy have to win the big-time matches. And they actually have a big-time match on Saturday as they hit the road to Dallas to take on FC Dallas, which, if you jump to the table in the Western Conference, Dallas is actually 5th in the Western Conference. So if the Galaxy do topple Dallas, then the Galaxy would jump Dallas as well as Nashville when it comes to the Western Conference spots. I think that would be huge for the Galaxy. And Nashville plays Vancouver, which if I were a gambling man, I definitely would put money on Nashville. But for the Galaxy, if they were to get the job done on the road, that would be huge for the Galaxy. I really think that the Galaxy would have a better shot at, winning its games. Just because when you look at its next game, the Galaxy are playing in a 2022 Leagues Cup showcase as they're playing Guadalajara. They're playing in a Leagues Cup showcase, which is nice. Back to the MLS, the Galaxy return to MLS action following their game against Dallas on next Saturday when they play at Sporting Kansas City. And then they have Vancouver, then Seattle, then New England. Ooh boy, they're playing New England. I feel that the LA teams never really play the New England Revolution. And it's at New England, so man, that's going to be a tough matchup. That's going to be Yeah, it's at Gillette Stadium. How fun! how fun that the Patriots and the Revolution share the same stadium. But I guess that does make sense. So yeah. But back to the Galaxy. If they want to make the playoffs, they have to start winning games. And honestly, they better not mess it up. Just because I don't want to see them missing the playoffs for the third straight year? Like, last year was basically unacceptable. Like, they were in the top 7 the whole year, and then on the last day of the season, they basically found themselves on the outside looking in. So, in order to make the playoffs, you just gotta win when it truly matters. And I think Dallas is beatable, but the Galaxy have to take care of business, and they have to have good goaltending. Otherwise, they'll be picked apart. So, we're actually going to take ourselves one more quick little commercial break. When we come back, we will have the Dum Dum of the Week award. Keep it locked here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Down! Green team! Set! Hit!
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
And we are back with the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Got one more little segment for you all. But first and foremost, I have to give a shout to Larry B on completing 8 divisions in 8 days with his show 3 and Out. If you haven't heard 3 and Out, it is amazing. I was on representing the Chargers, and I basically talked about their offseason acquisitions, their draft, what happened last year, and how they're going to do this year. I really think the Chargers have promise, but I already talked about them early in the show. But once again, big shout to Larry B for completing 8 divisions in 8 days of 3 and Out. Quite amazing that he was able to do so, and I look forward to 3 and Out this season. I just hope I'm able to win a primetime face-off or 2. So, before we end off the show, we have to give out the Dum Dum of the Week award. So, the Dum Dum of the Week award goes out to basically an organization, a person, anybody. No one is safe from the Dum Dum of the Week award. Basically, it's an award to give out to people or someone or something that does something dumb. Like, again, no one is safe from this award. And the mini Dum Dum of the Week award, I actually have 2 Dum Dums of the Week award, but the mini Dum Dum of the Week award goes out to the Arizona Cardinals, who basically, they gave Kyler Murray the contract extension. Good job, Cardinals. You locked up your quarterback for the near future. However, they had this little independent study clause, which is like, okay. And everyone and their moms literally made a joke about that, about how Kyler Murray basically was studying and whatnot. And then earlier this week, or yesterday, the Cardinals got rid of that whole little clause thing. So, yeah, honestly, that's your mini Dum Dum of the Week right there. The Arizona Cardinals get the mini Dum Dum of the Week award just because of, their competence of basically including an independent study clause when it comes to the contract extension. Oh, brother. Just when the Cardinals thought that they couldn't reach a new low of dumbness, they were able to do so. But they were able to just wave that study clause, so that's why they only get the mini Dum Dum of the Week award. If they kept it for a long time, then they would have gotten the full-on Dum Dum of the Week award. But now we get on into the main Dum Dum of the Week awards that I have to give out. I can't really explain it. First of all, Dum Dum of the Week award number 1 goes out to me. So remember the Dum Dum of the Week award that I gave out to myself when I didn't know how to travel by myself and I didn't know like the tricks of the trade when it came to getting on and off airplanes? Well, I had another little mishap when it came to traveling, and I'm kicking myself really hard for this. So, as we all know, the NBA playoffs, the National Volleyball Association playoffs, are next week, and I really want to attend. That was my goal, to make it to the NBA playoffs and attend. However, it was all the way in San Bernardino, and living in Orange County, that is quite a ways away, and I don't have access to transportation. I'd have to use public transportation, but for me, it would be a big struggle trying to use public transportation, which would be probably by bus and by train. So I basically, since there was no point of Ubering back and forth, and I didn't really have any friends to like drive me over there just because I don't drive, I took it upon myself to book myself a hotel, as basically I wanted to stay overnight in San Bernardino over the weekend for the NBA playoffs, and then basically catch the NBA playoffs in its entirety and have myself a good time and boost set point. Also, I should make note that the NBA playoffs are going to be on ESPN3, but I am an in-person type of guy. I want to check out what the NBA is like. So I took it upon myself to basically book myself a hotel and reserve my spot as a member of the media for the NBA. Representing IE Sports Radio, of course. Okay, but you're wondering, well, where's the dum-dum part, Teran? Well, here's the dum-dum part. So I booked my hotel, and the total came out to, I'm not going to really beat around the bush about this, came out to a little over $900. So I was like, oh my, looks like hotel rates did go up. So I booked my hotel, and I tried to find the cheapest one, and the cheapest one was like $171 a night. And I'm like, yeah, hotel rates went up quite a bit. So I basically got the $170 room a night thing, and it came with a king size bed. It's like, okay, I'll just get the king size bed, even though I'm not that big of a guy. But either way, I booked my hotel and I booked my stay, and keep in mind it's for Doubletree. That's the thing you got to keep in mind for. It's for Doubletree. That's the hotel name. So after that, I found out on the confirmation receipt that I accidentally booked this room for, get this, I booked it for 2 people. Yeah, I booked it accidentally for 2 people. And yeah, it was not the smartest thing by me. So I go back to the site, and well, I also should mention I got a little bit of a discount just because it was the deal of the day based on the website that I booked it from. But anyway, it was called Booking.com, by the way. So anyway, back to looking at the receipt. I actually go back to the Booking.com website. I go to book reservation, and instead of setting it to 2, like the default is 2 adults. I don't know why Booking.com has it default to 2 adults, but I actually switched it to 1. And looking at the new hotel prices, or the new prices for a room, the cheapest one was $133 a night. Yeah. I done messed up. In the end, I could have saved $152 But instead, my incompetent butt decided to fail to look at the confirmation, not look at the correct number of people that are attending, and I had to pay quite a bit more. That $152 could have gotten me breakfast. It could have gotten me lunch elsewhere. It could have gotten me dinner. It could have gotten me room service. But instead, I overlooked the number of adults that were attending, and I set it to 2. It was set to default at 2 instead of me setting it to 1, and I eventually bit the bullet. And the good thing is that I have a king-size bed, but it's not worth it. So I actually, the next day, wanted to call the hotel to change it from 2 people to 1. So I eventually found the phone number to the hotel, and yeah, at first I was like, can you change the number of adults from 2 to 1? So they said, let's look up your reservation, and then they said, we can't find your reservation. And I'm like, well, that's impossible. Booking.com booked it from, it basically gave me a confirmation number, and they said that the confirmation number was wrong, and then I basically was like, well, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, did I get scammed? No. The problem was, I called the wrong hotel. Yeah, I called Hilton instead of Doubletree. And I'm just so embarrassed as I'm talking to the receptionist. I'm like, oh my god, this is beyond... I'm so sorry. Oh my god, I couldn't believe myself. I felt so embarrassed talking on the phone with the receptionist. I'm like, how do I mess this up? The receptionist was very nice, though. She was like, that's okay, no big deal. And then she just gave me the actual phone number to Doubletree, and she was nice about it. So, by the way, I should make note that I was on my break from work when I was calling the hotel, the hotel. I only had 10 or 15 minutes, and my break was pretty much over by the time I got off the phone. So I basically wasted a break, and I basically wasted a receptionist's time, and I felt really silly because I thought I booked it. I called Hilton instead of Doubletree. And eventually I did find out if I could change the status of adults from 2 to 1. And Doubletree said that it's no big deal just because you basically bought the room. I should also make note that this is non-refundable, so basically I'm stuck with this king-size room, and I basically could have saved $152, but I decided not to. So, to recap my dumbness, I wasted money on a room that I could have saved a lot of money for. I called the wrong hotel to basically change my status of number of guests that's going to be in this room, and I eventually found out that it doesn't matter when it comes to the reservation. So, for my incompetence when it comes to booking hotels for myself, I am this week's Dumb Dumb of the Week Award recipient number 1.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
In my defense, this is my first time booking a hotel, but also in my defense, I should know better. You have to look at the fine print, and you basically have to know everything that you reserved for. It's not. I have no one to blame but myself for this. So that is Dumb Dumb of the Week Award number 2. Now, Dumb Dumb of the Week Award Dumb Dumb of the Week Award number 1, but Dumb Dumb of the Week Award number 2, it's going to be a little bit more lighthearted. So, on the Twitterverse, I saw my girl Angela Winstead, big diehard Arizona Cardinals fan, iSports Radio Hall of Fame member, head of PR, the general manager of iSports Radio. She's my girl. And while she is an Arizona Cardinals fan, I love her and respect her. She's like a sister to me. But I saw on Twitter that she ordered pizza from Hungry Howie's, and she said that she was using a tracking device, that it was 30 minutes long, that her order was still in preparation, and it had been 30 minutes since she first placed the order. So I, using my SoCal Supreme Sports Show Twitter account, say I basically did the same thing when I ordered Domino's. And she said she wanted to get Domino's, but no one was picking up the phone, and also the app wasn't accepting orders at the time. The delivery app was closed, which I think was stupid. So eventually, Angela got her food. She eventually got her pizza, and to her dismay, and to eventually my dismay, she found out that the pizza was cold. Okay, first of all, why is this pizza company doing this to my girl Angela? Like, Angela is the bomb diggity. I can't believe what I saw. It's like you forced her to wait 30 minutes while the pizza was still in preparation. Second of all, the pizza eventually got here, and it was cold. Now, I don't know how busy Hungry Howie's is, but that's unacceptable. Like, you can't give a customer a cold pizza. It's like, bruh. Especially to my girl Angela. Like, you mess with Angela, you mess with me. And you're going to be on Dumb Dumb of the Week if you just so happen to make Angela's life not so fun. So, I'm just wondering what just happened, why this mishap just happened, and I'm hoping Angela gets, like, a coupon for, like, next order a little bit of a discount. But overall, it's not the worst thing. That's not the worst part. So I look at this Hungry Howie's Twitter page, and then I see, as their header, I see this new pizza that they have. So get this. They have this new pizza, and on this pizza, it's the pickle bacon ranch pizza. Yes, let me say that again. It's the pickle bacon ranch pizza. On this pizza, there are dill pickle slices, bacon, ranch, and mozzarella cheese. Okay, I'm no pizza connoisseur, but it's like pickles, bacon, ranch, and mozzarella cheese on pizza? Okay. I don't know what to say. It's like, what? Who puts pickles, bacon, ranch, and mozzarella cheese on a pizza? And then I, being the nice guy that I am, had a discreet poll on Band with the iSports Radio family, and while only 6 people voted, 5 out of the 6 people voted that pickles, bacon, ranch, and mozzarella cheese do not belong on a pizza together. And thank you to those that voted, if you're listening, iSports Radio fam. And then here's some of the comments that were left. Cale Henders said, hell no. And he says, about as bad as pineapple on pizza. And then Adam Clark says, you lost me at pickles. And the one person that voted yes on pickles, bacon, ranch, and mozzarella cheese being on pizza was Arthur Parsons, the host of the Bayou Bulletin, the New Orleans show. He says, sounds great to me, but I can't eat pizza anymore, so... Marcus is just in time for the Dumb Dumb of the Week award. So he missed Dumb Dumb of the Week award number 1, but Dumb Dumb of the Week award number 2 is not missable. So Hungry Howie's, first of all, messed up my girl Angela Winstead's order by giving her a cold pizza after making her wait 30 minutes in preparation, and then I imagine it was probably an hour before she got her pizza. Marcus says he got stuck at work and he forgot I was live. Aw, it's okay, Marcus. I know that feeling. But to recap the Dumb Dumb of the Week, so Hungry Howie's, this pizza joint, made Angela wait 30 minutes in preparation for the pizza, and then she eventually got it probably like an hour after, and it was cold. The pizza was cold. And when I got to this Hungry Howie's Twitter page, I saw that they had this new pizza with pickles, bacon, ranch, and mozzarella cheese. I'm no pizza connoisseur, and I'm not knocking this, but I'm pretty sure those 4 items do not belong on pizza. I just don't understand. So, Hungry Howie's, with this weird Frankenstein-like pizza, and for giving Angela, my girl Angela, a cold pizza, I swear, Hungry Howie's, you better make this up to Angela. Like, give her some sort of discount. Give her an email that says, I hope, here's something in return because your order was not what we expected it to be. You better make this up, Hungry Howie's. But, I'm sorry, but Hungry Howie's, with that Frankenstein-like pizza, and with the not-so-good customer service he gave to Angela, you are this week's Dum Dum of the Week award recipient number 2.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Marcus also said it best. Cold pizza is also a no. And pickles on pizza is a no for him. Yes. Oh, and Domino's, you're not excluded from this either. Okay, well, they get the mini Dum Dum of the Week. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They get the mini Dum Dum of the Week just because I imagine they might have been busy. Just because I don't know how busy North Carolina Domino's are. But it's like, you're not busy. You don't have enough time to pick up the phone and place an order for Angela. And I don't know how late this Domino's was open for Angela. I don't know. Like, it was near 9 o'clock when Angela called. I imagine it was like 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock when she called. But it's like, your delivery tracking system isn't working at 8 or 9 p.m. When in California, the latest Domino's is open or accepting delivery is probably about midnight, which I'm just baffled at. I don't get that. But Domino's also gets the mini Dum Dum of the Week, but yeah. So, to clue Marcus in, or to fill Marcus in, I actually was actually the Dum Dum of the Week award recipient number 1, as I basically failed to save. I actually wasted $152 when I could have saved that money just because I did not switch the default from 2 adults to 1 adult when it came to booking my hotel up at San Bernardino for the NBA playoffs. But, yeah. So, long story short, when it comes to booking hotels, look at everything nice and accurately. And when it comes to pizza, just stick with pepperoni and sausage. And yes, Marcus, I know it's a weekly thing. I'm trying to get better when it comes to not being Dum Dum of the Week, but you know, no one is safe from this award, not even me. So, but on that note, that is going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. It is that time, ladies and gentlemen, for me to get on out of here, because I got to get me some dinner in me. Ya dig? But no, it's not from Hungry Howie's. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I appreciate you all tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, anywhere, any place, at all, I appreciate you. Big shout to the chat room, Adam Carnage, Mike Pat, John Felipe, and Marcus Hispanic, and especially Marcus. He says salute, Teran. I appreciate you. I appreciate everyone supporting not just this show, but all of our shows at iSports Radio and iSports Radio as a general. Without your support, we wouldn't not support. By the way, next week there will not be any SoCal Supreme Sports Show just because I will be at said NBA playoffs. I'll be tuning everybody in. I'm sorry to everyone that was looking forward to SoCal Supreme Sports Show, but since I'm going to be so busy throughout the weekend, I won't be able to have the SoCal Supreme Sports Show next week. However, the following week, I will be back. And also, there will be set on Monday to preview said NBA playoffs. Until then, you all have yourself a great rest of the weekend. Enjoy the weekend. Don't be a bad person. Don't be a dum-dum. Still wear your sunscreen because it is still sunburn season. And if you are sunburned, please just apply aloe vera. Make it less painful on yourself because when it comes to sunburn, it feels like you're in pain. But have a great weekend, everybody. I will see you on Monday for set points. Just remember one thing. SoCal is for SoCal. Peace!